have had a lot of have been involved with the GRA since 2010. So I've seen its evolution over time. Know Harry actually pretty well, and seen the maturity of the GRA. I've had a lot to do with the development of the Australian carbon crediting system, which is the only which, as far as I know, the only government-backed system in existence, and also still very much involved. Just finished some projects in Vietnam. So my expertise is cropping in general, rice included, and also looking at soil carbon changes and nitrous oxide. They're the main two, running major networks. I think that's probably enough in terms of providing information about myself.
Thank you, Peter. A very deep experience as well, and it's great that you're going to be involved in this, and it brings good continuity. So thank you, Peter. Thierry, I see your hand up there. Bonsoir, Thierry, and you're welcome. And I'll leave the floor to you, Thierry.
Oh, thank you, Carl. Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be with you today to introduce myself as a possible coordinator for this research group. So I'm working as a research director at INRAE in France. So INRAE is the French National Research Institute for Research on Agriculture, Food and Environment. I'm an ecologist by training, and I've been working at INRAE for more than 25 years now. And I'm quite new in the GRA as compared to Peter, because I discovered, if I may use this term, the GRA from inside, because I was in the council meeting in Dublin last June. And it was very interesting for me to discover the activities in details. And I've been involved in research activities on the impact of agriculture on the environment, but for now more than 10 years, I've been managing several research programs at INRAE and outside of INRAE on the, let's say, the transformation of agricultural practices towards more environmentally friendly activities, especially through several perspectives on agroecology, and also been involved in the contribution to the scenarios for carbon neutrality trajectories for several sectors in France, especially agriculture, and been working on the interaction between mitigation and adaptation to climate change in agriculture, but also in forestry. And I'm currently, since the beginning of this year, the vice president of INRAE and in charge of the international policy of the Institute. And in this position, I'm trying to foster all the multilateral possibility to have international collaboration. Carl, you were mentioning the fact that multilateralism is not in good shape at the moment, but for me, it's important to maintain the dynamics as scientists, because it's our duty, and we need that science-based advice to be provided. And in this context, and regarding the GRA activity, I'm also coordinating for the institution, the IRC on soil carbon with my colleagues, Suzanne Reinders and Jean-François Soussana, that most of you know quite well. And we are deeply convinced that with this international activities, we are able to maintain the momentum towards the adaptation to climate change and mitigation of climate change. And that's why I'm really happy if you agree to contribute to this activity as a co-chair with Peter and our colleague from Spain, Rosa, to this new group. This new group was decided at the meeting in June, and I think it's the moment to, a good moment to have this new vision to really integrate the land use topic with the crop and transformation of agriculture in many parts of the world. So that's why I'm happy to contribute, if I may. So thank you for attention.
Thanks, Thierry. And yeah, I mean, again, it's great to have France involved. Jean-François was a great participant over the years in the integrated research group, and it's great to see that continuity from France and from INRAE. So thank you, Thierry. And finally, Rosa. Buenas noches, Rosa. Very welcome, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me well, I think?
Yes.
Yes. So my name is Maria Rosa Mosquera Rosada. I'm full professor at the University of Santiago de Compostela. My background is a biologist, but I made a PhD long time ago in agricultural in permanent grasslands and grasslands with dairy cows. And from those, I have been working with livestock, but I'm also professor on forestry. So I'm using all type of land uses and work on any type of land uses because. And I guess this is why I became a kind of expert on agroforestry. Nowadays, I think we have done a lot of works. As you know, have a large CV with, just right now appears a new book on an international book on Francis Dawson, agroforestry and sustainable management. But I think my contribution can be from the sides of land uses, fertilization, soils, mostly with this holistic overview that needs a group like croplands and the land use system. We are now ending a work for the FAO where we are proposing, we proposed in the past the first monitoring system for agroforestry across a continent, Europe, and now we are working with the forest resource assessment. They made a contract with my university, I'm leading that, where we are proposing a new methodology for measuring agroforestry across the globe. I can tell you that the forest resource assessment is an assessment that is done for the countries. They are involved in 220 countries, and nowadays 95 countries has already answered it with the results. We have performed a pilot on measuring agroforestry as one of the most easy way, let's say like this, to increase carbon sequestration, so mitigate climate change in Central America and in Western Africa, which I think can be an important thing because we analyzed all the methodologies and proposed a new methodology that we are working with. I have been working for the GRA in the last 8 years. We have also a lot of European Union projects. We are coordinating nowadays 3 EU projects that in total amounts 20 million euros, where 3,000 stakeholders are involved and dozens of research groups are working. We also I'm also coordinating a PhD program where people from different countries are all over the world, Africa, Asia, South America, and even Canada, are making a PhD. We also step a bit forward with with the sense of how to change the land use and what is this impact on farming systems, with the idea of new business models, just by increasing the value chain and improving the value of the produce that comes from agroforestry. And on this, we have a collaboration with China that is working on that, also fertilization and land use chain and digitalization of livestock systems. And next week, I just get the opportunity to inform you that next week on Tuesday, we will be giving a talk in the European Parliament, just fostering agroforestry as a mitigation land use system. And I think that's all for now.
Thank you, Rosa. Very busy. You're a very busy woman, as ever. So thank you for giving us that rundown. And actually, the thing that strikes me is there's some very nice complementarity between the 3 co-chairs that have spoken this evening. I think you'll all bring a different experience, but it's going to complement very well. You have a big job of work to do now to get this new research group up and running, but we'll come to that in a bit later in the meeting. We'll come to next steps. So for now, thank you. I don't know if Japan or Zimbabwe are on the call and wish to say something in relation to their interest in co-chairing the rice research group.
Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, Yasuhito, yes.
Thank you, Carl. Nice to meet you again. I'm Yasuhito Shirato from Japan, working in the Research Institute, NARO, a National Agriculture and Food Research Organization. I'm soil scientist, and my personal research interests have been on the soil carbon sequestration mainly. And I'm now the director of the Division of Climate Change Mitigation Research, which focus on not only soil carbon, but of course, the methane emission from paddy rice field and nitrous oxide emission from agricultural soils as well. So I have served as one of co-chairs of the paddy rice research group since 2 years ago. And I'm pleased to be nominated to continue in this role today. Thank you very much. So I am currently leading the research project on paddy rice, paddy field greenhouse gas emission reduction by mainly water management and also the use of low methane rice varieties, which is implemented in the Philippines and Vietnam in Asian countries currently by the support of the Japanese government. So at least I want to continue to lead this research project. And furthermore, this month I was involved in the meeting on the rice paddy greenhouse gas emission reduction. So I think a significant number of such kind of international conferences, meetings, targeting greenhouse gas reduction from rice paddies, maybe this year, next year. Some of such kind of meeting is already scheduled for next year. So I will be involved in one of such conference in Asia next year as well. So I intend to encourage participation from member countries of GRA to participate such kind of conferences. So time and research is very limited, but I will do my best to contribute to reducing greenhouse gas emission from paddy rice, together with another co-chair from Zimbabwe and maybe some other countries will raise a hand. I don't know, but so thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Yasuhito. And likewise with Japan, it's great to have this continuity from the previous chairing of the Paddy Rice Research Group. Now you're known as the Rice Research Group, and we very much welcome your desire to continue as co-chair with Zimbabwe. I guess we probably don't have Zimbabwe on the call. Yes, maybe we do. If you want to come in now, to Masani.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I will just say for now, we are a new rice producing country and would like to learn from participation in the rice research group. Yeah, my experience is that I work for the Agricultural Research, Education and Specialty Services Department, and rice is one of our portfolios. We are working together with the JICA. We hopefully we should be able to integrate what we are doing with the Japanese to promote rice in Zimbabwe and be part of this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you to Masani. And as I said earlier, the period for expressions of interest here are open until the end of November. But it's great that Zimbabwe are coming on board to co-chair this this research group with Japan. The nominations are now put to the council for approval. So like earlier, silence is taken as approval, but if there are any questions or comments or issues that people want to raise, please raise the hand now. Okay, I don't see any. I'm taking that as approval. So again, I want to sincerely thank Australia, France, Spain for their willingness to co-chair the Crop and Land Use Research Group, and Japan and Zimbabwe for co-chairing the Rice Research Group. And I know I speak on behalf of everybody in wishing you luck in your endeavors, and we look forward to working with you in the period ahead. And of course, if there's anything that we can do as chair to help you in that process, we're all here to support you along with the Secretariat and the Special Representative. So, as I said earlier, we will discuss the next steps for these new research groups a little bit later because we're going to finish off on the restructuring before we start talking about next steps. So the next item on the agenda is to discuss the outcome of the working group that was set up to examine cross-cutting issues. And we have a couple of slides to talk through here. So the background to this is that the report of the restructuring review group, so that was the group that worked last year, and it brought its report to the GRA Council meeting in June. So the report of that research group looked at these issues that were in existence and that came to light in relation to what we used to know as the integrative research group. So we might interchange terminology here. Integrative, it used to be called integrative research group. Some people call it cross-cutting. And some of the observations that were noted in that report included that the co-chairs were struggling with the very disparate and rather broad networks that were within the integrative research group structure. They identified that there was definite scope creep in the integrative research group, that there was a need to refocus and really zone in on what was the value proposition. They felt there was overlap with other networks in the GRA, and they strongly recommended that we go back and look at the charter and look at what the core purpose of the GRA is. And they pointed to the fact that the integrative research group was most successful when it had funded projects, but of course the GRA doesn't itself have funding. And it went on then to make a few recommendations. So it recommended that the landscape management and farm to regional networks be merged and retitled as a farm systems network sitting under a research group. Merging those would bring synergies and offer an opportunity to examine those areas in a more holistic systems manner. They also recommended that the inventories and NDC network and the Indigenous Research Network should be taken out of this integrative research group and established as standalone groups reporting directly to the Council, although that subsequently changed a little bit in the discussions we had at the Council in June. And then acknowledging that the integrative research group would look very different as a result of those changes, with only one network contained within it. A more in-depth consultation would need to take place to determine what areas of activity it should focus on. So the June Council meeting did not reach a definitive conclusion on the need for a cross-cutting group, and instead it established a working group to examine this further. So that working group was established, and it met and it discussed the issues, and a paper summarizing those discussions has been circulated, and it makes a number of recommendations. So the slides hopefully will move on. Yeah. So the recommendations in that paper were firstly to allow time for the new crop and land use research group to get up and running. It has new co-chairs, it has new networks, it has to establish a work plan, and until all of that is done, it was suggested that it would be premature to establish a new cross-cutting research group in parallel with that. And also a further point to be cognizant of is that trying to establish two new research groups, i.e. the crop and land use research group and an integrative or cross-cutting research group, trying to get both of those established and restart the rice research group, to do all of that simultaneously would put a significant burden on the GRA Secretariat at a time of transition within the Secretariat and the Special Rep as well. The second recommendation it made was once the Crop and Land Use Research Group is up and running and the other structural changes are agreed at the council meeting are implemented, that an assessment and consultation could be conducted to determine if there are areas of research central to the GRA mission and strategy that are not being covered within the existing structures. The third recommendation was where gaps are identified, the chair, the special representative and the secretariat could propose options to council for how these might be addressed. And those options could include in the first instance setting up a project or potentially a flagship right up to establishing a research group. And then finally, it said that the co-chairs of the Livestock Research Group and the Crop and Land Use Research Group should meet at least twice a year to update each other on the respective work areas and other relevant matters such as upcoming events, membership, flagships, and so on. And that council should pay particular attention to identifying any cross-cutting areas between these groups when they report to the annual council meeting. So those are the recommendations. There are 4, and they are essentially put to this council now for consideration and approval. So essentially what we're saying here is we're not closing the door entirely to establishing a cross-cutting research group if that is deemed necessary in time. But for the moment, we should focus on getting the Crop and Land Use Research Group up and running, and the Rice Research Group up and running. And we should proceed with the implementation of the other restructuring that was agreed around the networks and flagships. And we should allow time for the new special representative to settle in. And then we can do a review in a year or so, and determine are there areas that are being missed in these new structures that are core to the GRA's mission and strategy, and if there are gaps, should those gaps be addressed by establishing a cross-cutting research group, or should they be addressed through some other mechanisms? And that review will be done, as I say, in about a year's time. So hopefully that's clear, and I will take any questions or comments. Bob.
Yes, thank you, Carl, and thanks for getting it all on one slide. It's very helpful to have all the information in one spot. Just like to express our support for this suite of recommendations. Particularly pleased with the pragmatic approach based on need going forward, as well as the continued check on alignment with the mission and strategy, which should help us from some of the, distraction's too hard a word, but some of the scope creep that we've experienced in the past, so that if we're continually going back to what the value of the GRA is, what its proposition is, and using that as one of the determinants as what to do moving forward on these cross-cutting issues, I think we're well placed. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Bob, and thanks for that support. Anybody else have a comment or a question? If there are no objections, then I'm going to take the 4 recommendations here as being approved. And thank you very much for that. I think that's a very solid way to move forward on this, and it keeps our options open, and we can come back to this at an appropriate time. So I'm going to keep moving along in the agenda. I'm just going to check my timings here. So yes, we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but that's fine. So restructuring next steps is the next item on the agenda. So we have some slides for this as well to talk you through this. So I'll ask the Secretariat to bring those up. We're going to show you a slide firstly that shows the new GRA structure in light of the decisions we've made at June's council meeting and this meeting. This is probably a useful graphic for people to visualize how the structure now looks. So we continue to have the livestock research group as it's currently formulated with its networks on animal health, genetics, feed and nutrition, manure, and the rumen microbiome. The rice group, we will come to that in a minute about what its next steps will be in its networks. Crop and land use as its two networks, soil and peat carbon and nitrous oxide, and I explained earlier the elements of the existing networks that will come into those. And then we have a number of independent networks that we're showing here as reporting directly to the special representative, and then we have the flagships down underneath. So I'm just going to talk through that in a little bit now. So it was recommended that the landscape management network that was under the old Croplands Research Group and the farm to regional network that was under the old integrative research group, they are merged to become a new farm systems network. That was previously recommended and endorsed at the June meeting, and that's sitting that's going to sit now as one of the networks reporting to the special representative. We have also been asked since the council meeting in June to maintain the circular food systems network. The participants are active and they wish to continue. So it was originally envisaged to close that, but that won't happen now. It will continue and it will also report to the special representative. The inventories and NDC network have requested their name to be changed to MRV, Monitoring, Reporting and Verification Knowledge Network. So I'm asking you to take note of that. So the INDC network, the inventories and NDC network that you would have previously known, that network have, as I say, have requested their name to be changed to MRV Knowledge Network. So if there are no objections from council on that, I hope that can be approved. In summary, that leaves 5 networks reporting to the special representative: the Landscape Management Network, the Farm to Regional Network, the Circular Food Systems Network, the MRV Knowledge Network, and the Indigenous Network. Now, in terms of next steps, so the council meeting in June agreed that once all the co-chairs are confirmed, what the council meeting in June suggested was that an implementation group would be established involving the co-chairs, the secretariat, the special representative, maybe the GRA chair, to identify networks and ensure existing activities are included in the new structure. But in view of what we have agreed at this meeting, we wish to propose a slightly different approach. So rather than setting up yet another group, that implementation group that we referred to at the council meeting in June, we have an alternative approach which we want to put to you, and that entails 5 steps. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through these. So the first step, and these are outlined on the slide, the first step is that the co-chairs of the Crop and Land Use Research Group will begin by meeting with their networks, their new networks. So as a reminder, the Soil and Peat Carbon Network brings together the former peatland and integrated networks and elements of the Conservation Ag Network that were under the Croplands Research Group, as well as the Soil Carbon Network that was under the Integrative Research Group. So that's the soil and peat carbon network. It brings together elements of previous networks that were in existence. And then the nitrous oxide network, the second network in this crop and land use research group, that brings together elements of the former conservation ag network that was under croplands. So those two new networks will need to be populated with the relevant members. Any pre-existing work that's still active needs to continue, and the co-chairs need to determine if there are any areas of new work to be considered. The Crop and Land Use Research Group would then develop a work plan as well as prepare for its first annual meeting, and it would be asked to update Council on its progress on these matters at our 2026 meeting in Costa Rica. So hopefully that's clear, that essentially the co-chairs are being asked to meet with their networks, determine whether the networks are populated correctly, and then develop a work plan and prepare for the first annual meeting. And a similar approach is being suggested for the Rice Research Group. It needs to develop a work plan in close collaboration with the International Rice Research Institute, Africa Rice, and others, and prepare for its next annual meeting. And we would ask the Rice Research Group to update Council in 2026 in Costa Rica on whether it needs to establish any networks, on what its progress is in developing its work plan, and for arranging its next annual meeting. The fourth step then is that the co-chairs of the Livestock Research Group and the Crop and Land Use Research Group will meet as and when necessary during the coming months, while the Crop and Land Use Research Group is getting up and running. And there is a request that the Livestock Research Group and the Croplands Research Group, the co-chairs, have a dedicated meeting at the 2026 Council meeting in Costa Rica. And then finally, as we mentioned earlier, there is the commitment that 1 year after these research groups become active, an assessment will be conducted to determine if there are any areas of research that are central to the GRA mission and strategy, which are not being covered in the new structures. And then the special representative, the secretariat, and if necessary, the chair, would examine those gaps and propose options to Council for how they might be addressed. That includes whether we need to establish a cross-cutting research group or whether the gaps can be addressed through setting up a dedicated project or flagship. So hopefully that's logical, and it kind of allows the co-chairs to get to work themselves within their own research groups, rather than what was envisaged at the June meeting. We were going to be setting up this thing called an implementation group, where the co-chairs were going to be meeting with the secretariat and the special representative. And the feeling now is that we're better off tasking the co-chairs and giving them space and time to go off and get themselves set up and established and get their operations up and running themselves. And then they can come back to the 2026 Council meeting in Costa Rica to update us. So this is open now to questions and comments. And Dorothea, I see you have your hand up. The floor is yours, Dorothea.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Just one question. I didn't quite get what's going to happen with the farm system network. Could you please repeat this? I know that you have talked about it, but I didn't understand it quite well.
Yeah, okay. I'll ask the Secretariat to bring back up the slides, please.
One moment. Yep.
So in summary, Dorothea, what's happening here is that we agreed in June that the the farm to regional network and the the landscape management network and the farm to regional network were to be merged to become a new farm systems network. So the farm systems network, hopefully, maybe we have the slide wrong here. Yeah, so that is wrong on the slide. So where it says the farm to regional scale and landscape management, we agreed previously that they were being merged to form farm systems network. So Dorothea, there's a farm systems network there that will report directly to special representative.
Okay, because I remember that we were talking about putting it into the crop and land use as a network. So that's no longer valid. Because we don't have it here in the graphic, and I thought that would be part of the crop and land use.
I'll just step in here. I think that is part of the further discussions we need to have with the new crop and land use research group co-chairs and also the leads of existing networks, is how they all see that scope fitting together. So I think we're probably not wanting to make a hard call at this stage on putting them within that crop and land use group or having them sit outside it. I think we just want to have some further discussions to see what fits within the scope best. And yeah, it's very much discussion with the network leads as well, to see what they think would work well for their existing work plan.
Okay, thank you. So do I get that right, that we will see the co-chairs will discuss this and then we'll see the outcome within 1 year, or?
Yeah, but hopefully before a year. So the next few months, we'll be discussing with the co-chairs and the network leads, and we should have a confirmed schedule by the council meeting next year. But hopefully before that as well, I'd like to have it a bit more sorted.
Yeah, I'm just looking back at the report of the June meeting, and no, we didn't agree that it would go into the crop and land use group. What was discussed was it was mainly around whether we should have this cross-cutting research group, or some called it a farm systems research group, but nothing could be agreed on it. So I think what has been presented this evening is probably the best way to go forward on it, in that the two previous networks still merged to become a farm systems network, but we we remain open, as the Secretariat have said, to where it sits. We'll have to be flexible on this, because we do have to allow the co-chairs of the new research groups, particularly the crop and land use research group, to determine, when they start looking at this, well, would a farm systems network best fit under them? In my mind, probably not, because farm systems, again, is cross-cutting. So what about the livestock side? So this is the issue we ran into before. There will be areas that arise, such as farm systems modeling, that don't fit neatly into the existing research groups. And in that instance, I think we should try this approach of having them outside of those and reporting directly to the special representative, and we see how we get on. I have Rosa and Thierry. So Rosa, you have the floor.
Yeah. Well, there were. Can you hear me? There were some. What I understood in the last meeting, that was held in Ireland, is that one of the first work that we have to do is to try to see what are the networks that are going to be within the crop and land use. Because some of them, for example, the ones that were in croplands were working quite well. Like for example, the one of agroforestry. Is this because I don't see that mentioned in a clear way? So my question is if I am right, or yeah, what is expected from our side on that regard?
Yeah, I think you are right, Rosa. I mean, I think the co-chairs of the research group definitely should have the wherewithal and the power to determine which networks work best within their research group. So if, for example, you feel that the work taking place in agroforestry cannot be appropriately accommodated within the soil and peat carbon network, and you want to have an agroforestry network, then that's a decision that the co-chairs are allowed to make. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Thierry?
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Thank you for this this clear proposal. I really appreciate, because it gives us some landmark we have to achieve. And coming back to the discussion about the farm system network, I think among our tasks, we should also meet the colleagues to discuss with them what they have in mind and to see if it fits with our own strategy or not. I think it's too early to decide now, but I follow your point on the fact that some dimensions of farm system will be more, let's say, cross-cutting than being only in crop and land use. But probably we should discuss with them before the next annual meeting, make you some proposal at this meeting on the way we will organize for this group. I remain open at this moment to see the way we can organize it, but it's clear for me now with this the slides were presented, what are the next steps. So it's important for us to commit to this, and make the thing easier perhaps to start. So really appreciate this proposal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Thierry. And yeah, I mean, I think this area of farm systems is very interesting, and there's a lot going on in that space, and it's maybe something that once Peter has got his feet warm under the table as the special representative, he may be able to have some discussions with the research group co-chairs, because to truly do farm systems research, we do need to be cross-cutting. So it's not fair to house it within any of the 3 research groups we've established. It needs to cut across them all. So when you see the structure here, whereby it's reporting to the special representative, that could be very much from a reporting perspective. But the farm system, a farm systems network, you could equally draw it as a box cutting across the 3 research groups, to really indicate that it is very much cross-cutting in nature. But we do need to have a way for it to know who does.
We may have lost Carl. Is that correct?
Carl is frozen on my screen.
We'll give it a few seconds to see if Carl can come back. If not, John, if you're still there, we'll ask you to continue chairing.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm here. So we'll give it a few more minutes. Thanks.
Yep.
I mean, in the meantime, while we're waiting, if anyone else had a question, perhaps we could hear from them as well.
And just a quick comment that in the meantime, during the discussion, Shaila updated the slide that's on the screen to kind of put that farm systems instead of the farm to regional scale and then landscape management networks that were previously in this slide. Rosa, you have your hand up, or
I just
is
want
this
to
from
make,
before?
no, I just want to make a comment. When I was hearing very attentively to what you are saying, I understand that the farm system should be something cost-cutting. But for example, as far as I see now in the livestock, which is working fantastically well, I don't see there the part of grazing systems and extensive grazing systems. I see more there aspects associated with animals that are in the stable. And this is something important that should be important in an important way in the graph, because it has a lot of impact across the globe. The thing there is, yes, where should this fit? Because it should be livestock, because animals are the ones that are grazing, but at the same time, it's a grazing activity that is modifying land uses. In the past, because we saw that in the livestock, they were not speaking about pastoralism. We were thinking that the best way to fit it was in the croplands group, as the grasslands are there, but not sure how can we. What is the idea of the group about how to do this, because it's in between the animals eating the land, the use of the land, and the land use affected by animals. So yeah, I just was wondering, what do you think? Or maybe this is a question too specific for us.
Thanks, Rosa. Thanks, Rosa, for that. I mean, I think that's the question around where the farm system is housed. I think Carl, just before he kind of disappeared on us, was kind of indicating, it could be cross-cutting. I think the livestock research group has had some aspects around the grass or the sward system, but equally, I think it's a useful discussion to have between the new co-chairs here on crop and land use, and maybe in conjunction with livestock. So I think it fits into this notion of the 5 steps that were being proposed here, so that there is some sort of cross-pollination, cross-discussion with some of the other co-chairs where relevant, to see where best it lands. I don't know if that really answers it, but it's just to give an indication of maybe what the next steps are. But I do see Dorothea, and I also see Richard from the UK. So Dorothea, please.
Yep, thank you. So I have 2 questions in mind. So one of it, I perfectly understand that you say, okay, a cross-cutting group doesn't fit in one of these special research groups. I understand this idea, but on the other hand, the question is, how is the impact of those networks responding to the special representative is going to be organized? So how are they going to interact with the other research groups? Are these just some lost networks nobody's aware of? Or, I mean, they don't have their own chair, they don't have their own research. So how are they going to interact with the rest of the GIA? That's not clear. And then minor question was, did we already agree on the chairs of the network, the farm systems network? Or is it still open to be discussed?
Thanks, Dorothea. Could you just repeat that last question, please? Which Which group
Yeah,
in terms of the
do we
co-chairs?
already have chairs for this network? So, as to say, Germany would be interested to be a co-chair on this network, but I'm not sure if we have that established yet, or do we already have chairs, co-chairs there?
And that's for the farm systems, correct? Yeah. So I mean, I think on the farm systems, in terms of the co-chairs, I guess then, you know, whilst that was agreed at the council, the group isn't as such established for the time being, and so I think that's where they're proposing in the interim to report to the special representative. So in terms of how they interact at the moment, it would be through the special representative. I think moving forward, other sort of ideas on that would have to sort of come to light for sure as to how they would interact. But equally, I think that's something once that it's up and running, it can happen. And I don't know about the co-chairs, but certainly if Germany is interested, I think we can take a note of that. Richard, please, and then I see Harry.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. One was just kind of reflecting on the irony that, I mean, in the farming systems things, one of the big challenges is that integration of crop and livestock and mixed farming type of systems. So I can fully understand the desire not just to put it in crops, but to find a way of integrating it. The other was just to comment on the points about the livestock research group and grazing. I mean, the manure management network has quite a strong emphasis on manures in grazing systems and urine and nitrous oxide. So there is grazing within the livestock research group. I think sometimes it's more of a challenge because, you know, I think the Feed and Nutrition Network would like to do more with grazing, but you know, number one stumbling block is difficult to know what cows are eating or sheep are eating when they're grazing. So nutritionists like to do studies with housed animals rather than grazing animals, and but yeah, certainly the scope and the aspiration is to encompass grazing in a number of our livestock networks.
Thanks, Richard. And Harry, please.
Thanks, John. Just a note on process. There are formal arrangements for co-chairing groups when there are nominations and decisions on countries co-chairing research groups. The process for networks has been that networks decide themselves their arrangements, and they have certain individuals lead networks. They've been rotated around. So I think the discussions around how networks are led are usually done within the networks and are not formally co-chairing countries being decided here. It's usually up to networks to make their own arrangements, and they can be quite fluid. So I think that's still up to discussion, and is always open to change within networks, with those network members deciding on the most appropriate arrangements, you know, on an ongoing basis.
May I ask, but is it already established? Do we already have this kind of network? Because it just, you know, it just merged. I don't know if we already have members there.
Yeah, but I think those then are internal discussions with the people who are interested in potentially forming networks. If there's merged networks, there would be internal discussions around. That's been the past method of doing it, but there's not usually been a formal process for co-chairing. It's been done internally within networks to do that, because networks come and go, and really it's around those interested to discuss what the most appropriate sharing arrangements are.
Deborah, please. And then Heather.
Yeah, I was just going to say that as Harry mentioned, the Farm Systems Network is merged between two existing networks, so we do need to have the discussions with the current leads of that network and see if they're still interested in leading a wider farm systems network. And that being said, even with a network of a wider scope, we're happy to have expressions of interest from others who want to lead it as well. There's we've got a couple of networks who have multiple leads in it, so yeah, happy to keep having those discussions about what that network looks like and who actually leads it.
Thanks, Deborah. Heather, please. You're on. We can't hear you. I think you might be on mute. No. At least I can't hear you. I'm not too sure whether if other people can, but I'm
We can't
unable
hear
to.
either. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe Heather, if you want to put it. Oh, I see the chat. Yeah, just in case. Okay, but if you want to put that in the chat, Heather, that would be great. I also see that Carl is back as well, so I think he's indicated that he can come in on the next agenda item once we've finished this. But I think we'll see. Whilst Heather is maybe typing, possibly, it's just to kind of come back on this item. I think to Deborah and Harry's point, I think, following council in June, there was this recommendation to sort of kind of bring together that landscape management network and the farm to regional into that farm systems network. So I think, yes, it is sort of moving forward, at least for that specific group, the need to see about whether there's interest around that sort of modified network. And indeed, if there is any wider interest in people getting involved, that's also open to discussion. I think in terms of maybe some of the more definitive elements around the next steps, that sort of approach proposed there by Carl at the start of this point, it would appear that seems to be agreed. I've not heard anything as such. Now it's very much focused on the CLURG and the RICE research group, but indeed, I think that's certainly something where I think as a number of the speakers who came in said, it does provide a structure there. It tasks the co-chairs to investigate this in terms of their strategy, interact with other research groups, and indeed maybe see where and if something like farm systems could be in that research group, cross-cutting, and again, that would then need to be discussed with people in that network as well. So I think there is a lot to be going on with here, and certainly I think it's good to have that kind of next sort of update for the council in 2026 at the council when Costa Rica chairs that. I think that would be useful. I think if there's no further questions on this, then I just propose to hand back to I don't see any questions, although Rosa, I see that you have some comments there in the chat. So I think they're valid points. I think we can take them on board, and I think that would be valid for the new co-chairs of the crop and land use group, along with, I guess, given your comments, at least a discussion with the livestock research group on that. So with that, I would propose that those next steps proposed for the new groups are carried forward, and I will hand over to Carl. And I'll move back to being the representative.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Thank you for stepping in. Sorry about that, everybody. So yeah, I'm just catching up on the discussion here now, and there's a good conversation going on about this actually in the chat. So I think we should note for the Secretariat on this item, we should note Germany's interest in being involved in this farm systems network, but I think we should also note the suggestion made by Heather that they are also involved in being, or interested in being involved. I think there was another good idea suggested there about drafting a kind of a rough scope of what the network might look at, because in order for people to decide whether they are interested in being involved in it, they need to know what the scope of it is. So could I maybe make a suggestion on how to move this forward, which is that the special representative and the Secretariat meet with, let's say, Dorothea, Germany, and the leads of the two former networks that we're saying are being merged into this one, and at least start a discussion with that small group to tease this out in a little bit more detail, taking into account the comments and suggestions that have been made in the chat here this evening. And what could be done thereafter then is that the Secretariat could circulate to the members a high-level outline of what that farm systems network might look at, and seek expressions of interest from other people that might wish to be involved. Noting, of course, what Harry said, that there isn't a formal process for leading a network like there is for leading a research group, and well, those are things that we're meant to be looking at in the guidelines that the Secretariat will be developing for establishing and winding down networks, but it's going to be a while before they're prepared. So if that's okay, I think that's how we should proceed on this. So the special rep and the Secretariat, Germany, and the co-chair, or sorry, the leads on the two former networks will have an initial meeting, maybe discuss what the high-level work might be for a farm systems group, and then if it's deemed appropriate, circulate that to the members, and if people want to be involved, I guess they can make contact to express their interest there. Peter, sorry, I'm after giving you a job, Peter, but there you go. Yeah. That's the prerogative of the chair.
Absolutely. Absolutely happy to do that. I suppose just reinforcing Dorothea's earlier comment, maybe before you came back on, Carl, about what we don't want these networks to be as sort of orphans, sort of a way, given the cross-cutting nature of sort of farm systems and MRV. So I see my role and the co-chairs of both the networks and the research groups to look at ways to ensure that that connectivity remains, and that those networks, which are cross-cutting by nature, don't get isolated. So I see that as a key focus of my role.
Okay, so the Secretariat might take a note as well of that for the minutes. I think that's an important point that Peter has made, so that we formally take note of the fact that we don't want these networks to become isolated orphans, and we really need to keep an eye on how we're going to integrate them across the existing structures. All right. In the interest of time, then I'm going to move on to the next agenda item, and this is, we're nearly at the end, so thank you all for bearing with us. This is the communication notes and the metrics paper. So as I mentioned earlier, the Council in June agreed to open an expression of interest from members that wish to take part in an advisory group for the communication note on the GHG emission metrics. And those expressions of interest were received, and that was presented to you earlier as to who would be involved in that. I'll now ask Harry to give us an update on the background, the process, and where the development of the communication note is at. So Harry, it's over to you.
Thank you, Carl. Could I have the next slide, please, Chester? Because this is one. So just a little bit of history on this one. We, a couple of years ago, set up a science to policy working group. And really the objective was to better communicate research findings to policymakers. And there are a number of activities that were introduced as a result of recommendations by that group. And one of them was, could we develop some communication notes to guide policymakers on some selected topics? And that process, in terms of how they were being prepared, how they would be approved, etc., was agreed at the 225 Council meeting. And the Science Policy Working Group had recommended a topic that we could, in a sense, run through this agreed process. So that topic was a communication note on metrics, on GHG metrics. That has now been produced. That was produced by mid-September, and we engaged an expert to do that, and that was Dr. Andy Reisinger, who was an IPC coordinating lead author, and in the IPCC AR6 report coordinated work in chapter 2 of working group 3 on metrics, when there was a whole chapter devoted to metrics. So Andy Rising was engaged to, and Andy has a background in policy. He was chief climate change scientist at the Ministry for the Environment in New Zealand. So Andy has both the science and the policy background. He has produced the first draft of that, the first note, in line with the guidelines set by the Science Policy Working Group. That now is out for detailed peer review, and a peer reviewer was commissioned, and we're expecting that back within the next week or so. The process from then onwards would be that it would then go to the advisory group, who would then comment on that and provide their comments back to the authors. And then finally, it would go out to council members for their comments. But the advisory group is in a sense, the group mandated to approve it, but other members get their chance to comment. And I can and I was involved in also peer reviewing it and working with Andy Reisinger to produce that. Trying to get a complex science piece of work down to a short policy brief was very challenging, and particularly metrics. But I think he's done a pretty good job. And in particular, really the difference between this and others is he has tried to set it within a policy context, and in the sense of not only what metrics are, but how they can be used and how they can be misused in policy, and that there is no single right metric. The metric you choose depends on your policy outcome you desire. And so he has tried to set it very strongly within a policy context without making any policy recommendations, but it's trying to set the context that there is no such thing as a single best metric. They have they have various uses depending on your policy outcome. So this will be the first attempt from rising right through from the policy working group to come to a product that we hope will make the GRA more relevant to policymakers. And we hope that to have that to the advisory group within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So that's really the brief update on where we have reached. And obviously, if this is successful, we'd be looking, and I'll leave that through to Peter, there will be other notes that we can then work on, working with council to find out what the priorities are and going through the same process to produce them. This one has taken some time, but we hope that in the future it can be take less time and be speeded up. But this one, we need to get it right so that everyone is comfortable with the process and comfortable with the outcome. So I don't think I need to really say anything more than that. Carl, very happy to take any questions or any points of clarification.
Okay. Thank you, Harry. That's a very useful update. So just to recap, the note will be circulated to GRA members for comments. The advisory group will consider those comments. What we agreed, if you look back at the report of the June meeting, is that the comments will not be individually responded to, but that the advisory group will take account of the comments that come in from the members. They'll review them, and then they'll make sure that the communication note aligns with the GRA charter, and then the paper is given to the GRA Council Chair, who will approve the note based on the review of the advisory group. But the Council Chair does have the discretion to escalate the paper to Council if needed. That's what we agreed in June. And this is a process we're piloting. So, Dorothea, I see your hand up, so if you want to come in.
Yes, thank you. Joe mentioned in the chat we were added today also to the advisory group, so that's fine to see that. I just wanted to make a quick comment. So for us, it's crucial during the debate of the metric paper that the procedures under the UN Framework Convention are not called into question. So as to say, the development and evaluation of the impact of different metric approaches under the GIA must not lead to a questioning of the agreements on calculating methane emissions under the Paris Agreement and the Katowice rulebook. So please keep in mind that this question is taken with sensitively into consideration when interpreting these aspects. So maybe you can.
Can I answer that, Carl?
Yeah, go ahead, Harry. Yeah.
Absolutely no intention about any recommendations or how they should or should not be used or whether they're appropriate to policy processes. It's much drier than that. It's what what is a metric, what are their properties, examples of how they're used, and why policy objectives matter when determining the right metric. It does not go into any policy sphere of which metrics you should use. It just describes the consequences of what you do if you use them. It absolutely does not go into any policy recommendations. And that was very clear as the mandate from the start.
But this could mean then it's relative. I mean, it's quite open. That countries could question the agreements taken in the Paris Agreement.
It is an information piece. It's trying to improve people's knowledge of what metrics are and what the implications of using them are. It makes no recommendations. But people there's a lot of questioning of metrics already in the literature. This is a clarification piece.
Okay, thanks, Harry. Did Heather want to come in? I thought I saw another hand up there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, Heather.
Woohoo! Hello, everyone. Yeah, I think obviously this is a really delicate area, and take on board Dorothea's comments about making sure we're not opening up more debate about the metrics that apply under the UNFCCC framework. But I do think as a policy maker, our ability to kind of like convey this, I think this should hopefully be helpful for us. One of the things that's happening quite a lot in the discussion here is conflation of metrics and targets. And so it would be helpful to separate that.
And that is exactly what it tries to do. A metric is a metric, a target is a target. Don't confuse the two.
Okay, so I think it's great that we chose this topic for our first paper because we're diving straight in at the deepest end, and I think we all accept that it's a sensitive area. But what we wanted to do was, as Harry said, not necessarily come up with any recommendations. It's to try and explain the pros and cons of the different metrics, so that policymakers better understand them. And so let's wait and see what the paper says. As I said, members will have an opportunity to comment, and the advisory group will then take those into account if any redrafting is required. So be it, then it goes to the chair, and if the chair is happy to sign off on it based on the recommendation of the advisory group, then that's what happens. And if not, the chair can bring the paper to council. So thank you all. Keep an eye out for your email from the Secretariat looking for your views on the paper. That should happen soon. With that, I'm going to move on to our last item. And the last item is an update on preparations for the 2026 council meeting. We had Roberto and his colleague Alejandro on the meeting. I saw in the chat that Alejandro had to, well, I saw Roberto had to leave and Alejandro was having IT issues. So I don't know if Alejandro, are you there? If you are, please come in. If not, I think Deborah is going to provide an update on the plan. Costa Rica there? Anybody from Costa Rica?
Nobody from Costa Rica.
Nobody. Okay, well then, Deb, can you help us out here?
Yeah, I can provide an update. I don't have any slides to share, but just to let you all know that we have been in discussion with Costa Rica around dates and proposed times for the 2026 council meeting. At this stage, we are looking at early July 2026. So the first 2 weeks of July is the timeframe we're looking at for the next GRA council meeting. That meeting would be held alongside a technical working group or conference of the Fontagro organization in that region as well, and then also working with AICA, so another regional organization within Latin America, who would probably host the council meeting at their campus in Costa Rica. So the plan is to have a meeting which is working with a number of regional organizations as well as Costa Rica to bring together a number of activities and partners for the region for 2026.
Alejandro just joined.
Great. Alejandro, I've just given a brief update on what we are proposing as the dates for the council meeting next year, but if you've got anything further to update to that, happy to have you jump in.
Sorry, I have some issues with my computer, so it's
No
very
problem.
difficult. Sorry. All right, in representation of Roberto, I have some words from him, so let me check my notes. So, right, I am here to ratify our commitment with the organization of the next year meeting in Costa Rica. So, as a part of the responsibilities of co-chairs, so we are take the meeting. So the program times, as Deborah, I think Deborah said something about that. Could be in the first week of July, right? So the specific date, maybe we can inform soon, right? So just in case. The budget, we will budgetary and logistic support for Fontagro, as Roberto said. And we are receiving support from the Inter-American Institute of Cooperation in Agriculture, ICA, right? And I will request support from other regional and international cooperation. So in some other aspects. So we consider very important to come with support of the New Zealand government and the Ministry of Primary Industries. So we are moving forward in this way. Our goal is to promote the active participation of national partners from Latin America. And thank you very much. We are working very hard with a short meeting in our country to prepare all the details and successful meeting next year. Thank you very much, and that's all. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you for the update. And well, it's great that the planning has begun, and we very much look forward to meeting in Costa Rica, hopefully next July. But just you might see some comments in the chat there. It has been flagged to us that there is another big event in the US in start of July next year. So what I've said is that the Secretariat will work with
we're
Costa
trying
Rica.
to
Yes.
We are trying to cover all the aspects as much that we can in these weeks, right? To prepare all the meaning in the correct way, right? So
yes,
we are trying all the efforts to maintain our commitment with the meaning.
Yes, excellent. Excellent. Very good to hear that.
Thank you.
And it's great. It's great that the work has begun, as I said. And I think that meeting will come at a good time because by July, hopefully, we'll have got the restructuring up and running. The new strategy will be up and running. The new special representative will be up and running. So it'll be all systems go in 2026. So I'm bringing the meeting to a close because we've reached the end of our time and the end of our agenda. So thank you all very much for taking the time to join this meeting virtually. I know it's not easy at different times of the day, probably unsocial hours for many of you. So thank you for making the effort to be with us and for your collaborative spirit during the meeting. I think we've achieved a lot. Again, we succeeded in getting agreement for the key things that needed to be agreed at this EGM, this extraordinary meeting. So we don't have these very often, but we felt it was a good way of keeping momentum behind the work we're trying to do, particularly on the restructuring and on the appointment of the special representative. So with that, I wish you all a good day, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Carl.
And goodbye. Thank you.
Thanks, Carl. Bye now.
Thanks, Carl.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thanks, Carl. Bye-bye.